Hydrogeology starts with the combined fields of geology and hydrology, studying the flow of water through the soil and rocks below the Earth's surface. Most vital to Austin and the surrounding areas is the Barton Spring segment of the Edwards Aquifer. It provides drinking water for 50,000 people in neighboring Buda, Kyle, and Sunset Valley.
Wherever these creeks cross the fractures and the faults, then we have the potential for creek flow to be entering into the aquifer.
Where does the water in the Barton Springs segment of the aquifer and in Barton Springs itself, where does that come from? Well, we know that it enters through the area we call the recharge zone, but the source of the water can be a lot farther away from that. There's an area that we call the contributing zone. It's not actually part of the Edwards Aquifer, but it's part of the surface watershed that contributes water to the aquifer and to Barton Springs. What I mean by that is there's a large area and water that falls as rainfall on that area flows into creeks. There are 5 principal creeks that flow across the contributing zone that contribute water to the Barton Springs segment of the Edwards Aquifer. Those are Barton Creek, Williamson Creek, Slaughter Creek, Bear Creek, and Onion Creek. And of those 5, Onion Creek and Barton Creek are the largest contributors to the aquifer.
During heavy rainfall, a whirlpool forms in Onion Creek.
Whirlpools are very fascinating natural features. The sound is awesome of a whirlpool. The whirl of the water is mesmerizing. Well, one gentleman went out to try to touch the whirlpool, and the force of the whirlpool, the natural force behind it, is so powerful that it sucked him into the whirlpool, and he died instantly, unfortunately. What we can see from measuring flow along the creeks here is that there's really only a handful of places on the creek where most of the water goes underground into features like this. Even though we're here on the bottom of a creek, this is Onion Creek, right now it's dry and it doesn't look very outstanding, but this creek is actually the largest source of water to Barton Springs. It produces about 40% of the water to Barton Springs. When the water is flowing, obviously it's not right now.
There are 3 very distinct segments. The northern Edwards begins just north of downtown Austin and travels north to Temple. Then the southern segment travels south from Hays County. The southern Edwards supplies San Antonio's drinking water. Known locally as the soul of Austin, Barton Springs is the city's most prized jewel. It's named after frontiersman Billy Barton. In 1837, Barton claimed this area when the United States was giving away land to encourage settlement of the new Republic of Texas.
Barton Springs itself is really made up of 4 separate but related springs. Upstream of the pool is Upper Barton Springs, but the main springs that we think of behind me is called Main Barton Springs, or also Parthenia, named after Billy Barton's daughter.
When you jump off the diving board, just look to the left and you will see her. She's by far the largest of the 4 springs, producing an average of 53 cubic feet of water per second, which is enough to fill a 2-story home per second. Both Eliza Spring and Sunken Gardens are east of the pool. Even thousands of years ago, before Billy Barton, Native Americans could drink from the spring because it was crisp, cool, and naturally clean. Thanks to a new technique called dye tracing, a lot has been discovered about the aquifer over the last 15 years. Dye tracing helps track the water as it flows underground through different discharge points.
We have some receptors, or what we call bugs, that we put in these wells that will absorb the tracers that we're using. That's activated charcoal, so that's what will absorb the dye, so that we can determine whether the tracer is moving from our injection point to this well and points beyond.
Through this dye tracing test, scientists have learned most of the water entering recharge features in the Barton Springs recharge zone releases at Barton Springs. Remaining water surfaces at Cold Spring, which is located in Lady Bird Lake. Once the water surfaces, it travels downstream and then into the Colorado River From there it travels to the Gulf of Mexico, helping to provide water to our neighbors downstream.